Right.
Good evening, everybody. Kevin Turvey here. Kevin Turvey, the man that really investigates everything properly, not like Keith Marshall. And anyway, Keith Marshall, if I don't investigate things properly, then how come I'm on the BBC and you're not? Think about that sometimes. And it wasn't me that nicked your bike. Just a bloke asked me to move it. That's also I moved it round the corner. I didn't nick it. Anyway, good evening to everybody else. For first, I'd just like to apologise for my sore throat. You know, last week I was investigating how many times you have to shout tumble dry in the high street before somebody comes up and offers you a cigarette. Took ages and ages, you know. Anyway, this week I've been investigating the media, right? It's a funny word, you know. It took me about 4 hours to look it up in the dictionary, you know, because it's quite a long book. It's near the end, you know. Basically, it just means television and newspapers. So I didn't have anything to do for the rest of the week. Just didn't do anything. Well, I did a few things, you know, like walking about and going into shops and out of shops. But I'll tell you, on Thursday, this really strange thing happened. Stranger than truth. Except that it was true. Strange. Anyway, I was watching Top of the Pops, right? You know, I always like to watch Top of the Pops, you know, it has a little chart about what pop groups have made the most money, you know, it's quite important for young people to know. But anyway, I was watching it and there was hammering at the window. I looked round and it was the postman. I thought, that's weird. Not because it was like late, you know, at 7:30, but because we live on the 3rd floor. So I went over to the window and said, I'm just going to open the window, and he like shook his head a bit. I opened it up and he'd gone. I looked down and he's in the greenhouse, doing a sort of wriggly dance on the floor. I thought, oh man, I better go see about this. So I ran downstairs. I didn't decide to put on my raincoat, you know, because I wasn't really thinking about it. And anyway, it wasn't raining, but anyway, I got down there and I said, and he said to me, are you Kevin Turvey? And I go, yeah. And then he sort of takes the hat, puts his hand in his pocket, you know, sort of with his dislocated arm and stuff. Anyway, he gives me a letter and goes, so I took it, I read it. He said, Dear Kevin Turvey, before you finish reading this letter, you will receive a severe blow in the back of the head with a hammer. P.S. Don't you... Ow! Yeah, I got this big wham on the back of my head. I thought, wham! Then I went down on the floor. I go, oh God, I'm in pain now. I better get round the hospital. So I started to crawl off, right? I didn't bother to call an ambulance, you know, it's only a short crawl. Crawled down the road, crawled round the corner, all over this big hill, down the other side, really fast, going away, crawled up the steps to the hospital. Very nice people in the hospital, you know, the bloke opened the door, I crawled in, I said, sorry about your floor, mate. So I went up to the counter and she said, are you National Health or private? I says, National Health, please. Alright, over there. So I went outside, you know, where she was pointing. And I sat there with all these other blokes, you know, quite needing medical attention. There was this bloke holding his nose, you know. Not like it was on his face or anything, you know, but anyway, I sat there for a minute, and just at the end of the wait, this doctor comes with an injection, and I'm sort of shitting myself, you know, but then he says, Kevin Turvey, I go, yeah, drop your pants. So I dropped my pants, and he says, drop your trousers. So I dropped my trousers. I don't know why I went in that order, you know, I mean, didn't he assume I dropped my trousers at the same time? Maybe I just fucked up. But anyway, that's not important. The point is, once he gave me the injection, I had this really weird dream. It was really weird. I was dreaming that I was flying upside down of a turkey, drinking beer, and everyone was pointing at me saying, "Get us out of here, you bastard!" So anyway, I woke up, and I was like, oh man, what's been going on here? I was back in my own house, you know, and that was it. It was a very weird experience. So anyway, that's enough for this week, you know. Remember, if there's anything you want investigating, Kevin's here.